The knock came at 10:47 p.m. 3 sharp raps against the wood, cutting through the sound of rain hammering the roof like bullets. Kyron Holt froze at the kitchen sink, dish soap still dripping from his hands. Nobody knocked this late. Not in this neighborhood. Not during a Florida storm that had already flooded half the street. He grabbed a dish towel, moving toward the door with the kind of caution a single father learns after 2 years of raising a daughter alone. Through the peephole, he saw her, Ms. Vivian Arlo, his boss, soaked to the bone, her red silk blouse clinging to her skin like a second layer. Mascara streaked down her cheeks, hair plastered against her face. What the hell? Kyron unlocked the deadbolt. The door swung open, and the storm rushed in with her. Cold air, the smell of wet asphalt, the distant rumble of thunder. She stood under the yellow porch light, trembling, arms wrapped around herself. Her eyes searched his face like she was drowning, and he was the only thing floating. "Kyron," she whispered, voice cracking. "Please don't close the door." He didn't step aside either. "Ms. Arlo." His voice came out steady, controlled. "Are you all right?" Her jaw tightened. She exhaled sharply through her nose. "Do I look all right?" "Hi, viewers. Kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is." He hesitated, gripping the doorframe. "You look cold." Something flickered in her eyes. Anger, maybe fear. Her lips parted, and then she asked the question that made his stomach drop. "Kyron, am I not beautiful?" The words hung in the air between them, heavy and wrong. This wasn't a woman asking for a compliment. This was something else. Something that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up. He swallowed hard. "You are. Of course you are. But what are you doing here?" Her lip trembled. She looked like she might collapse right there on his porch. "My car," she said, voice breaking. "It spun out near the intersection. My phone died. I didn't know where else to go." Kyron's mind raced. There were 3 homes between that intersection and his duplex. Mrs. Chun at the corner. The Rodriguez family 2 doors down. Even old Mr. Harrison across the street. She passed all of them. Chose his door. His gut twisted. Vivian Arlo didn't get stranded. Didn't knock on employees' doors. And definitely didn't ask if she was beautiful while standing in storm. Something was very wrong. He stepped back, pulling the door wider. "Come in before you get sick." She crossed the threshold slowly, water pooling on his worn welcome mat. Her heels clicked against the laminate floor as she moved into the living room, and Kyron noticed the way her eyes swept across everything. The second-hand couch with the faded floral pattern, the stack of Zuri's library books on the coffee table, the crayon drawing of a sunshine taped to the refrigerator. She stopped in the center of the room, turning to face him. Her expression had shifted. The desperation was still there, but now something harder edged into it. Something that looked almost like judgment. "You really live like this?" The question landed like a slap. Kyron closed the door behind him, the lock clicking into place. "This is my home." She didn't apologize, didn't even blink, just stood there dripping on his floor, studying him like he was a puzzle she couldn't solve. And that's when Kyron realized the storm outside wasn't the one he needed to worry about. But what she said next made Kyron's blood run cold. "What do you think Ms. Arlo really came for?" Drop your thoughts below. Vivian moved deeper into the living room, her wet shoes leaving dark prints on the floor. Kyron stayed near the door, keeping distance between them, every instinct screaming that this moment wasn't what it appeared to be. She reached out and touched the back of his couch, fingers trailing across the fabric. "How long have you lived here?" 2 years. He kept his voice level. "Since my wife passed." Her hand stilled. "I remember when you told me. You took 3 days off for the funeral." "For days, right?" She turned to face him, arms crossed now, the vulnerability from the porch replaced by something sharper. "You came back to work so quickly. I always admired that about you. Your resilience." The word felt wrong in her mouth, like she was tasting it, testing how it sounded. Kyron watched her eyes drift to the kitchen table, where Zuri's math homework sat in a neat pile, her pink pencil case beside it. Then to the photographs on the wall. Him and Zuri at the beach, her first day of 3rd grade, a faded picture of his wife holding their newborn daughter. "She looks like her mother," Vivian said, nodding toward the photo. She does. Must be hard. Raising her alone. Chiron's jaw tightened. We manage. Vivian walked to the window, peering out at the rain. Lightning flashed, illuminating her profile. She looked smaller than she did at work, less polished. But there was something coiled in her posture, something ready to strike. You never remarried, she said. Not a question, a statement. No, never even dated? That's personal, Ms. Arlo. She turned, and for the first time since stepping into his home, she smiled. But it wasn't warm. It was the kind of smile that made Chiron's chest tighten. When not at work, Chiron, you can call me Vivian. He didn't. She took a step closer, then another, the space between them shrinking. Do you know what I think? Her voice dropped lower, almost intimate. I think you're the kind of man who sacrifices everything for everyone else. Your daughter, your job, even your boss who demands too much and pays too little. Chiron's heart pounded. If this is about my performance review. It's not. She cut him off, eyes locked on his. This is about you never looking at me. Not once in 2 years have you looked at me the way other men do. The air in the room shifted, became heavier. Chiron took a slow breath. I treat everyone with respect. Respect. She repeated the word like it tasted bitter. Is that what you call it? Ms. Arlo. Vivian, you need to tell me what you really need. Because this... He gestured between them. This isn't about your car. Her expression cracked, just for a second. Enough for him to see the loneliness underneath, raw and desperate. But then she composed herself, shoulders straightening. Maybe I just needed someone who wouldn't judge me, she said quietly. Someone who wouldn't see me as the boss. Just a woman. Chiron's stomach churned. He thought about Zuri asleep in her room, about the bills stacked on the counter, about the insurance card in his wallet that had his daughter's name on it, provided by the company Vivian managed. She was standing too close now, close enough that he could smell her perfume mixed with rain. And then she said something no boss should ever say. Do you think Chiron should let her stay? Como olvido? I came here because I needed someone who sees me. Her voice trembled on the last word. Chiron watched her fingers curl into fists at her sides, knuckles going white. The yellow lamp in the corner cast shadows across her face, making her look both fragile and dangerous at the same time. Someone who won't judge me, she continued. Someone who... She paused, eyes searching his. Someone who owes me. The room went cold. Chiron's chest tightened. Owes you? Vivian tilted her head, and that broken vulnerability vanished like smoke. What replaced? It was something calculated. Sharp. You need your job, she said softly. You need your insurance. Zuri needs her dental coverage. Her pediatrician visits. She took another step forward. I sign those forms every month, Chiron. I approve your benefits. Your raises. Everything. His blood turned to ice. She wasn't here because her car broke down. She wasn't here because she was lost or scared or vulnerable. She was here because she thought she had power over him. Chiron's hands flexed at his sides. He forced himself to stay calm, to keep his voice steady even though rage was building in his chest like a storm. Ms. Arlo, he said carefully, let's not confuse things. You're upset. It's late. And this what? She snapped. A woman wanting to feel wanted? A boss showing up at an employee's house and implying he'll lose his job if he doesn't. Oh, please. She scoffed, cutting him off. Who do you think they'll believe? You? A single dad making barely above minimum wage. Her eyes hardened. Or me, the woman who signs the checks. The words landed like a punch. Chiron stared at her, and for the first time in 2 years, he saw Vivian Arlo for what she really was. Not the polished executive in tailored suits. Not the demanding boss who ruled the office with cold efficiency. A person so lonely she turned power into a weapon. A person who thought she could buy validation with threats. His heart pounded, but not with fear, with disgust. You don't know what you're asking, he said quietly. I know exactly what I'm asking. Her voice dropped lower, almost a whisper. I'm asking if you're smart enough to see opportunity when it's standing in front of you. Chiron's jaw clenched. He thought about Zuri's school supplies, her medication for asthma, the rent due in 6 days. Vivian saw the hesitation in his eyes and smiled. That's what I thought, she murmured. But what she wanted wasn't comfort. It was control. How would you handle this situation? Let us know. You never look at me like other men do. Vivian's voice wrapped around the words like they were precious, fragile things. She moved closer, close enough that Kyron could see the way her hands trembled even as her eyes stayed locked on his. At work, she continued, you avoid my eyes. When I walk past your desk, you turn away. When I call you into my office, you stare at the floor. I'm being professional. You're being cold. Her voice cracked. Do you know what that's like? To be surrounded by people all day and still feel invisible. Kyron's chest tightened. He wanted to feel sympathy. Wanted to see her pain as real. But all he could see was the thread underneath it, coiled and ready. I see you, he said carefully. I just see you as my boss. And that's all. She stepped closer, and Kyron instinctively stepped back. His spine hit the wall. That's all I am to you. Yes. The word came out harder than he intended. Vivian flinched like he'd slapped her. For a moment, silence filled the room. Just the sound of rain against the windows and the distant rumble of thunder. Then her expression shifted. The hurt melted away, replaced by something colder. Sharper. You need your job, Kyron. Her tone changed, became businesslike. Clinical. Your daughter needs her insurance. The school nurse called last month about her inhaler prescription. I approved the refill. His stomach dropped. She knew. She'd been paying attention, keeping track. That asthma doesn't just go away. Vivian continued, voice soft but deliberate. And those medications aren't cheap. Not without coverage. Kyron's hands curled into fists. Don't what? She tilted her head. Don't remind you how much you depend on me. Don't make you see reality. Don't use my daughter. Something flickered in her eyes. Regret, maybe, but it disappeared as quickly as it came. I'm not using her, Vivian said. I'm just making sure you understand what's at stake. For both of us. She reached out, fingertips grazing his arm. Kyron jerked away like she'd burned him. I need someone who won't reject me tonight, she whispered. Someone who understands what I'm offering. You're not offering anything. His voice came out low, dangerous. You're threatening. I'm being honest. She moved closer again, and this time Kyron had nowhere to go. You're a smart man. You know how the world works. People like you need people like me. And people like me? Her voice dropped to almost nothing. We get lonely too. Kyron's heart pounded in his ears. Every muscle in his body screamed at him to push past her, to get distance, to get her out of his house. But Zuri was down the hall. Zuri needed her medication, needed her doctor visits, needed stability, and Vivian knew it. She saw the war in his eyes and smiled. You're thinking about her right now, aren't you? Vivian murmured, about what you'd lose if you make the wrong choice. The wrong choice, Kyron repeated slowly, is you being here. Her smile faltered. You think you have power over me, he continued, voice steady now. You think desperation makes me weak, but you're wrong. Am I? She crossed her arms. Then tell me to leave. Right now, tell me to walk out that door. Kyron opened his mouth, and just when things hit their peak, a small voice called out, Daddy, what do you think happens next? Drop your prediction. Zuri stood in the hallway, rubbing her eyes with one small fist. Her purple pajamas hung loose on a thin frame, and her braids were messy from sleep. She looked so small, so innocent. Kyron's entire body went rigid. Vivian turned slowly, and Kyron watched something dark flash across her face. Not concern, not embarrassment, jealousy. Hey, baby girl, Kyron said softly, moving past Vivian toward his daughter. What are you doing up? I heard voices. Zuri's eyes drifted to the woman standing in their living room, dripping water on the floor. Who's that? Just someone from work who needed help with her car. He crouched down to Zuri's level, blocking her view of Vivian. Let's get you back to bed. Is she staying? The question hung in the air like a blade. No, Kyron said firmly. She's not. He scooped Zuri into his arms, carrying her back down the hallway. She wrapped her arms around his neck, and he could feel her heartbeat against his chest. Steady, trusting, completely unaware of the danger that had walked through their door. Daddy, she whispered as he tucked her back under a blanket. Yeah, baby? I don't like her. Kyron's throat tightened. Why not? Zuri shrugged, her eyes already drooping. She looks at you funny. Smart girl. Too smart. He kissed her forehead, smoothing down her braids. Go back to sleep. I'll handle it. Promise. Promise. He waited until her breathing evened out, until he was sure she was asleep again. Then he stood, shoulders squared, and walked back to the living room. Vivian stood exactly where he'd left her, but her expression had changed. The desperation was gone. Now she just looked angry. She's the reason, isn't she? Vivian's voice came out sharp. The reason you won't even consider. Don't. Kyron's voice cut through the room like a knife. Don't you dare talk about my daughter. I'm just saying. You're saying nothing. He moved toward her, and for the first time that night, she stepped back. You came into my home. You threatened my livelihood. You tried to use my child's health as leverage. I didn't. Yes, you did. Vivian's face flushed. You're going to regret this. Maybe. Kyron moved to the door, opening it. Rain poured in, and the cold air felt like relief. But not for the reason you think. She stared at him, eyes wide with disbelief. Like she couldn't comprehend that he was actually refusing her. You'll lose everything, she said quietly. I'll risk it. She grabbed her purse from where she dropped it by the couch, movements jerky and angry. She stalked toward the door, then stopped inches from him. You're making a mistake, she hissed. No, Kyron said. You did. She opened her mouth to respond, but he spoke first. And before you go, there's something you should know. Vivian froze, one hand on the doorframe. That was the moment Kyron finally spoke like a father, not an employee. Do you think he's bluffing? Comment your thoughts. My contract isn't with a corporate center. The words dropped into the space between them like stones into still water. Vivian's hand slipped from the doorframe. Her face went blank, processing, trying to understand what he'd just said. Kyron watched the confusion ripple across her features. Then the realization. Then the fear. What are you talking about? Her voice came out thin, shaky. I was hired through a leadership mentorship program, he continued, voice calm and steady. My mentor isn't a facilities manager. He's the incoming chair of the board. The color drained from Vivian's face. Actually drained, like someone had pulled a plug. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. His name is Dr. Marcus Chandler, Kyron said. We meet every other Tuesday. He's been grooming me for upper management for the past 18 months. Vivian's legs seemed to buckle slightly. She grabbed the doorframe again, this time for support. Her voice cracked. Why didn't you ever say anything? Because I don't use power to hurt people. Kyron's eyes never left hers. I use it to protect my daughter. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating Vivian's face in stark white light. She looked smaller now, fragile in a way that had nothing to do with rain or vulnerability and everything to do with the sudden understanding of what she'd just done. Tomorrow morning, Kyron said quietly, Dr. Chandler will want to know why his protege found his direct supervisor dripping wet at his doorstep, threatening his livelihood, using his daughter's medical needs as leverage. Kyron, please. They want to know why I called him at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday. He pulled his phone from his pocket, turned the screen toward her. The call log showed a number labeled DR, Chandler. Mentor, duration, for minutes. Timestamp, 10:58 p.m. He'll want to know every word you said. Vivian's hand flew to her mouth. You already called him? The moment Zuri went back to sleep, her eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time, not the manufactured desperation from earlier. These were the tears of someone watching their entire world collapse. I could lose everything, she whispered. Yes, Kyron said simply. You could. I didn't mean, she stopped, swallowed hard. I wasn't thinking clearly. You were thinking perfectly clearly. His voice stayed level. No anger, no triumph. Just truth. You knew exactly what you were doing. You just didn't know who you were doing it to. Vivian stood frozen in his doorway, rain soaking her shoes, mascara running down her cheeks in black rivers. For the first time since he'd known her, she had no power, no leverage, no control. What do I do? She asked, voice breaking. You leave, Kyron said, and tomorrow you resign. Resign, or Dr. Chandler files a formal complaint with HR and the board. Your choice. Her breath came in short gasps now. She looked at him like he was a stranger, someone she'd never met before tonight. I thought, she stopped. Started again. I thought you were just what? Kyron asked. Just to help. Just someone you could manipulate. She flinched. You saw a single father struggling to make ends meet, he continued, and you thought that made me weak. You thought desperation meant you could take whatever you wanted. I'm sorry. No. Kyron shook his head. You're just scared. But Kyron had one truth she never saw coming. What would you do in Kyron's position? Let us know below. Please. Vivian's voice cracked. Don't do this. I'll apologize to HR myself. I'll make it right. Kyron leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. The rain had soaked through his shirt where he'd stood holding the door open, but he didn't move. Didn't give her an inch. Make it right, he repeated. How do you make right what he tried to do here? She reached out toward him, then pulled her hand back like she'd remembered she no longer had the right to touch anything that belonged to him. Not his arm, not his time, not his future. I was lonely, she whispered. I wasn't thinking. You were thinking, Kyron interrupted. You thought about my daughter's insurance. You thought about my paycheck. You thought about every piece of leverage you had over me. He stepped closer, and she backed onto the porch. What you didn't think about was what would happen if you were wrong. Thunder rolled overhead. The storm had reached its peak, wind whipping rain sideways across the street. I could ruin you, Vivian said suddenly, voice sharp again. That corporate edge returning, the last desperate grab for control. I could tell them you invited me here. That you, on a night when security cameras caught you leaving the office at 9:15? Kyron pulled out his phone again, scrolled to a screenshot. When your car is still parked at the intersection 3 blocks away with its hazards on. When your phone records will show you called my personal number twice before showing up here. Her face went white. Dr. Chandler already sent someone to check on your vehicle, Kyron continued. They're towing it to the dealership right now. For your safety, of course. You planned this. Her voice came out hollow, defeated. No. Kyron shook his head. You did. The moment you decided to show up at my door, you set all of this in motion. I just made sure there was a record. Vivian's shoulders sagged. She looked down at her soaked heels, at the water pooling around her feet, and something in her seemed to break completely. I just wanted someone to see me, she whispered. Is that so wrong? Not wrong, Kyron said quietly. Just cruel, the way you went about it. She looked up at him, mascara-stained tears mixing with rain. What happens now? You leave. Tonight. Tomorrow morning, you send your resignation to HR, personal reasons. No explanations. And if I don't, Kyron's expression didn't change. Then Dr. Chandler forwards his documentation to the board. And you fight a battle you can't win. The air between them felt heavy, charged with more than just the storm. You'll regret this, Vivian said, but there was no strength behind it anymore. Just empty word from someone who'd already lost. No, Kyron replied. I won't. She turned toward the steps, heels clicking against wet concrete. But she stopped at the edge of the porch, one hand gripping the railing. For what it's worth, she said without turning around, I really did admire you. I know, Kyron's voice softened just slightly, but admiration isn't an excuse for abuse. Vivian descended the steps into the rain, shoulders hunched against the downpour. She walked toward the street, toward the distant glow of headlights where Dr. Chandler's assistant waited with a company car to take her home. Kyron watched until she disappeared into the darkness. Then he closed the door, locked it, and stood in his quiet living room listening to the storm rage outside. His phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Chandler. Everything handled. See you Tuesday. Proud of you. Kyron exhaled slowly, the weight of the night finally settling onto his shoulders. But the greatest moment came hours later at the bus stop. Do you think justice was served? Share your opinion. The morning broke clear and bright, like the storm had washed the world clean. Kyron stood at the kitchen counter, hands wrapped around a mug of coffee that had gone cold an hour ago. He hadn't slept. Couldn't. His mind kept replaying every moment from the night before, every word, every thread, every choice. His phone sat on the counter beside him, screen dark and silent. Until it lit up at 7:42 a.m. An email. Subject line, personnel update confidential. Chiron opened it with steady hands. Effective immediately, Ms. Vivian Arlo has taken an indefinite leave of absence for personal reasons. Interim management responsibilities will be distributed among senior staff. Questions should be directed to human resources. Note details. No explanation. Just clean corporate language that meant everything and nothing at the same time. Chiron set his phone down, stared out the window at the morning sun breaking through clouds. Somewhere across town, Vivian was probably sitting in her expensive condo, staring at the same sunrise, understanding that her career had ended in a duplex living room with second-hand furniture and crayon drawings on the refrigerator. He should have felt satisfaction, maybe even triumph, but all he felt was tired. "Daddy," Zuri appeared in the hallway, still in her purple pajamas, hair wild from sleep. She padded into the kitchen, climbed onto the stool beside him. "Morning, baby girl." He smoothed down her braids, pressed a kiss to her forehead. "Is that lady gone?" "Yeah, she's gone." "Good." Zuri reached for his coffee mug, took a sip before he could stop her, then made a face. "That's gross." Chiron laughed, the sound breaking through the heaviness in his chest. "That's why it's mine and not yours." She grinned, leaning against his arm. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching dust particles dance in the morning light streaming through the window. "Daddy," Zuri's voice came out small, careful. "Yeah, I heard you. Last night, after you put me back to bed." Chiron's chest tightened. "How much did you hear?" "Enough." She looked up at him with eyes too wise for 8 years old. "You told her to leave. You protected us." His throat closed up. He pulled her close, felt her small body press against his side. "I always will," he whispered into her hair. "No matter what." They stayed like that for a long moment. Father and daughter. 2 people against the world, holding steady. "Am I still going to have my medicine?" Zuri asked quietly. "Yes." "And you're still going to have your job?" "Yes." He pulled back to look at her. "Nothing changes for us. I promise." She studied his face, searching for lies and finding none. Then she nodded, satisfied. "Okay." She hopped off the stool. "Can we have pancakes?" Chiron smiled, the weight on his shoulders lifting just slightly. "We can have pancakes." As Zuri rummaged through the pantry for syrup, Chiron's phone buzzed again. Another text from Dr. Chandler. "Board meeting next week. Bringing your name up for assistant director position. Time to stop hiding your light, son." Chiron stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed back, "Thank you for everything." The response came immediately. "You earned it." Your character did. By the time she stepped off his porch, her career had already changed. What lesson do you take from this? Comment bidu? 3 days passed like water flowing around stones. Chiron went to work Tuesday morning expecting whispers, questions, maybe even suspicion. Instead, he found business as usual. The interim manager, a kind woman named Shanice Robertson from accounting, greeted him with a warm smile and a reminder about the staff meeting at 10. Nobody asked about Vivian. Nobody mentioned the sudden change in leadership. Corporate machinery kept turning, grinding forward, already moving past what had happened like it was nothing more than a minor adjustment. But Chiron knew better. He saw it in the way the senior staff looked at him now, with something that resembled respect instead of passing acknowledgement. He heard it in the way Shanice asked for his opinion during meetings, like his voice actually mattered. Dr. Chandler stopped by Wednesday afternoon, dressed in his usual crisp navy suit, silver hair perfectly trimmed. He shook Chiron's hand in the empty break room, grip firm and proud. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "Fine, sir. Don't lie to me, son. I've been doing this too long." Chiron exhaled slowly. It was the right thing to do, but it wasn't easy. The right thing rarely is. Dr. Chandler leaned against the counter, arms crossed. "You know what separates men like you from men like the ones who make excuses? You understand that character isn't what you do when people are watching. It's what you do when you have every reason to compromise and choose not to. I had Zuri to think about. You had yourself to think about." Dr. Chandler's voice was gentle but firm. "You could have given in. You could have protected your job by sacrificing your dignity. But you didn't. You stood firm, even when it was terrifying." Kyron felt something loosen in his chest. Something he hadn't realized he'd been holding tight. "What happened to her?" he asked quietly. "Ms. Arlo. She resigned officially Thursday morning. Accepted a severance package. HR kept it quiet." Dr. Chandler paused. "She won't be in this industry again. Not after word gets around. That's not what I wanted. I know, but consequences aren't about what we want. They're about what needs to happen to prevent the next person from getting hurt." They stood in silence for a moment, the hum of the refrigerator the only sound. "Next week," Dr. Chandler said, straightening up, "I'm putting your name forward for the assistant director position. It comes with a 40% raise, full benefits expansion, and a clear path to upper management." Kyron blinked. "Sir, you've earned it. Not because of what happened this week, but because of the 2 years before it. The work you've put in, the leadership you've shown." He clapped Kyron on the shoulder. "Your daughter's going to have everything she needs, and you're going to build something that lasts." When Dr. Chandler left, Kyron stood alone in the break room, staring at his reflection in the window. He looked the same face, same tired eyes, same worn work shirt. But something inside had shifted, settled. Friday morning, Kyron woke up to sunshine streaming through his bedroom window. He made Zuri breakfast, braided her hair while she ate cereal, and walked her to the bus stop at the corner. The air smelled clean, fresh, like rain had washed away everything stale and left only possibility. Zuri's bus pulled up, brakes hissing, door swinging open. But the greatest moment came just before she climbed the steps. "Have you ever had to stand up for what's right? Tell us your story." Zuri turned at the bottom of the bus steps, one hand gripping the railing. Her backpack was almost bigger than she was, pink and purple with a unicorn patch Kyron had sewn on after the zipper broke. "Daddy," she called over the rumble of the engine. "Yeah, baby? I'm proud of you." The words hit him square in the chest. Simple, direct, exactly the way an 8-year-old would say something that profound. Kyron crouched down, arms opening, and she ran back into them. He held her tight, breathing in the smell of her coconut shampoo, feeling her heartbeat against his. "I'm proud of you too," he whispered. "Every single day." She pulled back, grinned up at him. "We're gonna be okay, right? We're gonna be better than okay. Promise, promise." She kissed his cheek, then ran back to the bus. The driver, Miss Paulette, smiled down at them. Zuri climbed the steps, waved from the window as the bus pulled away. Kyron stood on the corner watching until the bus turned at the light and disappeared. Then he started walking home, hands in his pockets, morning sun warm on his face. His phone buzzed. A text from Dr. Chandler. "Board approved the promotion. Congratulations, Assistant Director Holt. You start Monday." Kyron stopped in the middle of the sidewalk, reading the message twice to make sure it was real. Then he typed back, "Thank you. I won't let you down. You couldn't if you tried. Your character won't allow it." He slipped his phone back in his pocket and kept walking. Past Mrs. Chun watering her flowers. Past the Rodriguez family loading kids into their minivan. Past old Mr. Harrison reading the newspaper on his porch. They all waved. He waved back. When he reached his duplex, he stood on the front porch for a moment, looking at the door where everything had changed 3 nights ago. The yellow light above it still glowed faintly in the morning brightness, marking the threshold between before and after. Power didn't make someone powerful, he thought. Character did. Inside, he made himself a fresh cup of coffee. This one he'd actually drink. He sat at the kitchen table where Zuri had left her math homework from the night before, her pink pencil case sitting beside it. On the refrigerator, her crayon drawing of a sunshine smiled down at him. Kyron smiled back. His phone buzzed one more time. A message from Shanice. "Welcome to leadership. Coffee's on me Monday morning." He typed, "I'll take you up on that." Outside, birds sang in the trees. The storm had passed days ago, but everything still felt washed clean. New, full of possibility. Kyron Holt, 33 years old, single father, assistant director, sat in his modest duplex with secondhand furniture and crayon drawings and felt something he hadn't felt in 2 years. Peace. Not because he'd won something, not because he'd defeated anyone, but because when the moment came to choose between easy and right, he'd chosen right, and his daughter had seen him do it. That was the legacy that mattered, not titles or raises or corporate victories. The knowledge that when Zuri grew up, she'd remember her father as a man who stood firm when it would have been easier to bend. A man who protected what mattered without becoming cruel. A man whose dignity was stronger than his circumstances. Real beauty wasn't in how someone looked. It was in how they treated people when no one was forcing them to be kind. And quiet justice? It didn't roar. It whispered through truth, steady and undefeated, echoing long after the storm had passed. Kyron finished his coffee, rinsed the cup, and got ready for work. Monday would bring new challenges, but he'd face them the same way he faced everything else, with his daughter in his heart and his character as his compass. And that, more than anything, was enough. 6 months later, Kyron stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows on the 8th floor, watching the sun set over downtown. His office. His name on the door. Assistant Director of Operations. The leather chair behind him still felt too nice. The mahogany desk still looked like it belonged to someone else. But Dr. Chandler kept reminding him it wasn't about deserving it. It was about earning it through years of quiet work nobody had been watching. Until someone was. A knock at the door pulled him from his thoughts. "Come in." Shanice entered, holding a manila folder and wearing an expression he'd learned to read over the past months. Concerned but careful. "Got a minute?" she asked. "Always." She closed the door behind her, sat in the chair across from his desk. "HR flagged something this morning. Thought you should know before the weekend." Kyron's stomach tightened. "What is it?" Vivian Arlo filed for unemployment benefits. Listed Lakeshore as her last employer. Shanice paused. Her application was denied. "She's appealing." The name still carried weight, still made his chest tighten. "She has the right to appeal," Kyron said carefully. "She does." Shanice set the folder on his desk, but her lawyer sent a letter to HR yesterday. Claims she was forced to resign under duress. Says she has grounds for a wrongful termination suit. Kyron's hands curled into fists under the desk. She resigned voluntarily. Dr. Chandler has the documentation. I know, and the board knows, but her lawyer is digging. Shanice met his eyes. They requested your personnel file, your employment history, everything. For a moment, the office felt too small, too exposed. "What do I do?" Kyron asked quietly. "Nothing." Shanice's voice was firm. "You tell the truth. You let the lawyers handle the rest. And you remember that you didn't do anything wrong. She's going to drag this out. Make it public." "Maybe." Shanice stood, straightened her blazer. "But you've got the board behind you. Dr. Chandler behind you. And a daughter who needs to see that doing the right thing doesn't always come easy. But it's always worth it." After she left, Kyron sat in his expensive chair, staring at the manila folder without opening it. His phone buzzed. A text from Zuri's school. Parent-teacher conference scheduled for Tuesday. Mrs. Williams would like to discuss Zuri's recent essay. Please confirm. Recent essay? Kyron texted back. Confirmed. Is everything okay? Everything's wonderful. She wrote something we think you'll want to see. He slipped his phone into his pocket, grabbed his jacket, and headed for the door. Whatever storm Vivian wanted to bring, he'd weather it the same way he weathered the first one. With truth, with dignity, with his daughter watching. But what Mrs. Williams showed him Tuesday afternoon changed everything. Do you think Vivian will succeed in her lawsuit? Share your thoughts. The classroom smelled like crayons and construction paper. Zuri's artwork covered the bulletin board by the window, a watercolor of their duplex with the sun shining overhead, rays stretching down like golden arms. Mrs. Williams, a black woman in her 50s with kind eyes and silver streaks in her natural hair, gestured for Kyron to sit at the small reading table in the corner. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Holt." "Of course. Your text said something about an essay." Mrs. Williams pulled a folder from her desk, opened it carefully. "Last week, I assigned a class a personal narrative. Write about a time someone you love showed you what strength looks like." She slid 3 handwritten pages across the table. The title, in Zuri's careful cursive, "The Night My Daddy Protected Us." Kyron's breath caught. She asked if she could read it to the class. Mrs. Williams continued softly. "I told her I needed to speak with you first. His hands trembled as he picked up the pages. Zuri's words filled every line, her 8-year-old voice coming through clear and honest. I woke up because I heard voices. Daddy was talking to a lady I didn't know. She was wet from the rain, and she looked at Daddy in a way that made my stomach hurt. Not like Mrs. Chin looks at him when she gives us vegetables from her garden. Not like Miss Paulette on the bus. Different. Scary different. Daddy picked me up and took me back to bed. He tucked me in and kissed my forehead like he always does. But his hands were shaking. I pretended to fall asleep, but I stayed awake listening. The lady said mean things. Things about my medicine and Daddy's job. She said if Daddy didn't do what she wanted, bad things would happen to us. I wanted to run out there and tell her to leave, but I was too scared. Then Daddy's voice got quiet. Not angry quiet, strong quiet. The kind of quiet that means something important is happening. He told her she had to leave. He told her she was wrong. He told her he would always protect me no matter what. And she left. The next morning, Daddy made me pancakes and braided my hair. He didn't tell me what happened, but I knew. I knew he chose me over being scared. He chose doing the right thing, even when it was hard. That's what strength looks like. It looks like my daddy. Kyron's vision blurred. He set the papers down, pressed his palms against his eyes. Mr. Holt? Mrs. Williams's voice was gentle. I didn't know she heard all that. Children hear everything, see everything. She reached across the table, touched his arm lightly, and what she saw was a father worth writing about. She can't read this in class. Kyron's voice cracked. If it gets back to Vivian's lawyers, I understand your concern. Mrs. Williams withdrew her hand. But this essay isn't about the woman. It's about you. About what Zuri learned that night. Kyron stared at his daughter's handwriting. Every loop and curve proof of her watching, learning, growing. What do I tell her? He whispered, you tell her the truth. That some stories are private. That she captured something beautiful, but sharing it might hurt people who don't deserve to be hurt. She'll be disappointed. She'll understand. Because you've taught her to understand the difference between what's true and what's kind. When Kyron picked Zuri up that afternoon, she bounced to the car, backpack swinging. Did you see my essay? She asked, climbing into her booster seat. I did. Mrs. Williams said it was really good. It was perfect, baby girl. He met her eyes in the rearview mirror. But we need to talk about it. Her smile faded slightly. Am I in trouble? No, never. He pulled out of the parking lot, choosing his words carefully. Your essay was honest and beautiful. But some things that are true need to stay between us. Private family things. Because of that lady? He nodded. Because adults sometimes make things complicated. And I don't want your words used to hurt anyone, even people who try to hurt us. Zuri was quiet for a moment, processing. So I can't read it in class? Not this one, but I'll help you write a different one. One that's just as true, but keeps our private moments private. Okay, Daddy. That night, after Zuri fell asleep, Kyron sat at the kitchen table rereading her essay. Every word a reminder of why he'd stood firm that stormy night. Every sentence proof that children don't just hear what you say, they see who you are. His phone buzzed. Dr. Chandler. Board met today. Vivian's case dismissed. No grounds. You're clear. Kyron exhaled a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Thank you, he typed back. Thank yourself. Your character protected you better than any lawyer could. And that's when everything fell into place. 2 years later, Kyron stood on a different porch. Not his duplex. A real house with a front yard where Zuri could play. A driveway where she could ride her bike. A kitchen with enough space for both of them to cook together. Director of operations now. Full benefits. Salary that let him breathe without counting every dollar. But none of that mattered as much as the moment happening right now. Zuri, 10 years old and all legs and attitude, stood beside him holding a plate of cookies they'd baked that morning. Mrs. Chun from the old neighborhood was visiting along with Miss Paulette, the Rodriguez family, and even old Mr. Harrison who'd made the drive across town. Speech. Someone called from the yard. Kyron laughed, shaking his head. This is just a housewarming, not an award ceremony. You've earned both, Dr. Chandler said from his seat on the porch steps. Retired now, but still showing up for the moments that mattered. Kyron looked at the faces gathered in his yard. People who'd watched him struggle. People who'd offered quiet support when he needed it most. People who believed in him before he fully believed in himself. "All right," he said, raising his glass of lemonade. "I'll keep it short." "Daddy never keeps it short," Zuri stage whispered, and everyone laughed. 2 years ago, Kyron began, I was standing in a duplex living room making the hardest choice I'd ever made. Not because it was complicated, but because it was simple. Do the right thing or protect myself. Choose character or choose comfort. He glanced down at Zuri, who looked up at him with eyes that still saw her father as a hero. A wise person once told me that power doesn't make you powerful, character does. And I've learned that's true in ways I never expected. Not just in that moment, but in every moment after. The raises came, the promotions came, this house came. But none of it means anything if I can't look my daughter in the eye and know she's proud of who I am, not just what I have. Zuri squeezed his hand. "So here's to new beginnings," Kyron continued, voice thick with emotion. "To second chances, to storms that pass and sunshine that follows. And to everyone here who reminded me that I was never alone, even when it felt like I was." Glasses raised, voices cheered. And in the middle of it all, Zuri leaned against her father's side and whispered, "I'll always be proud of you, Daddy." Later that evening, after everyone left and Zuri was tucked in her new bedroom, Kyron stood on his front porch watching fireflies dance in the yard. His phone buzzed, an unknown number. He almost didn't answer, but something made him swipe. "Hello." Silence. Then a familiar voice, older somehow. "Tired, Kyron?" "It's Vivian." His heart stopped. "How did you get this number? I shouldn't have called." Her words rushed out. I needed you to know, I'm working again. Not in corporate. I'm teaching. High school business classes." Kyron said nothing. "I'm in therapy," she continued. "Working through things. Understanding things about myself I should have understood years ago." She paused. "I'm not calling for forgiveness. I know I don't deserve that. I just wanted you to know I'm trying to be better." "Why tell me?" "Because you were the only person who could have destroyed me, but chose not to. You could have made sure I never worked again. Instead, you let the system handle it. You showed me mercy I didn't earn." Kyron closed his eyes. "I didn't do it for you. I did it because cruelty wasn't going to make anything better. I know, but it changed me anyway." Her voice cracked. "I'm teaching my students about ethics now, about power and responsibility. And I tell them, without naming names, about a man who taught me what real strength looks like." Silence stretched between them. "I hope you're well," Vivian said finally. "I hope your daughter is thriving. I hope you found the peace you deserved." "I did. Good." He could hear her smile through the tears in her voice. "That's good. Goodbye, Kyron." The line went dead. Kyron stood on his porch for a long time after, phone in his hand, staring at the stars. Somewhere across town, a woman was rebuilding her life from the ashes of her mistakes. Somewhere in this house, his daughter slept peacefully, dreaming of tomorrow. And somewhere in between, justice, quiet, patient, and true, continued its work of transforming both the broken and the brave. Kyron went inside, locked the door, and checked on Zuri one last time. She slept with a smile on her face, one hand tucked under her cheek, the other clutching a stuffed bear he'd won for her at the county fair last summer. He kissed her forehead, whispered, "I love you, baby girl," and headed to his own room. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new choices, new moments to define who he was and who he wanted to be. But tonight he was just a father who'd kept his promise. To protect, to provide, to prove that dignity wasn't something you lost when life got hard. It was something you chose again and again, no matter the cost. And that choice, more than any promotion or house or second chance, was the legacy he'd leave behind. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If this story touched your heart, changed your perspective, or reminded you of your own strength, we'd be honored if you'd subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications so you never miss a story that inspires, challenges, or lifts you up when you need it most. Drop a comment below sharing how this story made you feel, or tell us about a time you had to choose character over comfort. Your words matter. Your story matters. And together, We build a community that believes in the power of doing what's right, even when it's hard. See you in the next story. Until then, stand firm, stay strong, and remember, your character is your compass. Let it guide you home.